Hello and welcome to another Leica review. Today we are going to be talking specifically of some of the best lenses in Leica's lineup. And one of the lenses that I have not yet covered is the Leica Summicron 35mm. Now I did cover this Leica Summilux 35mm, but the Summicron is a very particular lens. This lens has been covered by a lot of reviewers, a lot of people who have used it, and it has a very important reputation in the Leica community. Now, for this very reason, I wanted to take the time to give you a very in-depth look on this lens. And first of all, we want to talk about what this lens does as far as quality of image and also how much sharpness it has, how much contrast it has, and what it can do for your photography. And beyond that, we are going to look at its history. We're going to look at the time frame from 1958 to 1969, and then from 69 to 79, and then from 79 all the way up to 1996, which is the previous generation, and then from 1996 all the way up to the present, where we have the aspherical lenses, the floating elements. Now, this specifically, what I'm going to be talking about, refers to all the 35mm in most part, but especially at this aspherical lens that has been produced and that's been updated and perfected for the use with the Leica M camera. Now, this lens, which we will be talking about in more detail, will also have some photographs, which I hope you will take the time to look at the review that I've written on our website at leicareview.com. Now, if you have questions, also you can post them, you can send them to me, and I'll try to answer those questions. And also, I will leave you some links at the bottom of the article and also at the bottom of this video, where you can find the best value for these lenses and where you can purchase them for a moderately good price and also get incredible results. I have also gone up and shown a lot of my students who have taken my workshops and those who have been my students over the years, how a 35mm could be one of your best lenses, and that is a great lens to start with. So let's briefly look at the history and see what has happened over the years. Now, if you look at the lens in the first generation, from 1958 to 1969, it was a very good lens for its time, its period. But over the years, as it got better, the technology got better, and the lens design became more and more refined, we see the progression of this lens becoming sharper and better and more contrasted. Lens elements that are also aspherical step in at the last stage, which is from 1996 on onwards. Now, there are several things that we need to look at very closely. One of them is the fact that the last generation has aspherical surfaces. Now, aspherical surfaces is very important to reduce distortion, and if you look at this lens as a lens itself from everything else, it has almost no distortion, which is beautiful because that means you don't have to do auto corrections in the post. You don't have to worry about it if you put it onto a different camera. You can use it for a lot of other applications. Now, the modern Leica M cameras like the M10, the M240, does have built-in auto correction. What that means is if you look at the back of the lens, there's a 6-bit coding. That 6-bit coding is very, very important because that helps to tell the camera what lens is mounted on. So what happens is the Leica engineers were very smart. They developed corrections for the lens. Now, what happens is every lens, because of the physical limitations, has some amount of distortion, and that distortion is pretty much corrected automatically when it is getting recorded within the camera. So that is one of the most beautiful factors. But if you are using, for example, a lens, body combination where you have, let's say, M9, M8, or M7, or one of the film cameras, what will happen is that distortion will give that unique element. And also, one of the things that you should also notice is the fact that this has floating lens elements, which means that the lens elements are moving within the body and is not stretching up or back from the front of the lens. So this is a great improvement. And also, it's important to look at this lens as a instrument where you can use it in the field effectively. So when you weigh this lens and you look at it, it's about 255 grams. This is what it's been stated. It comes with a lens hood, which is very important to have because it's a wide angle lens. And what that means is that it's going to capture a wide angle, and that's about 63 degrees, and that's going to give you a look that is both pleasant and also not so wide that it makes everything look somewhat odd. So it is great for street photography because you can set this lens at f8 or f11 and just fire away anything from 1.5 meters all the way up will pretty much look in focus. Now, if that's a look that you like, it's wonderful. If you want to get great results, this lens will perform wonderful wide open as well. It's at f2, which is this wide opening, so it gives you flexibility if you're doing low light photography. And also it will give you the opportunity to get somewhat of a bokeh if you place the subject close enough to the lens. Now, one of the problems with wide angle lenses, which the 35mm and below, is that it's almost impossible to get really beautiful creamy bokeh. And that's one of the reasons why Summilux was ever introduced. It's f1.4, because you can actually use it as a portrait lens, but it is much larger, much bigger, and costs about 2 to 3 times the price of a Summicron. And Summicron in itself, if you look at it, there is a sophisticated design. It's got 7 elements in 6 groups, which means that the design is got elements that are going to be working in conjunction with each other to provide you very accurate look. Now, some of the lenses that are being produced in the current market have more elements, like 9 elements from Zeiss. Now, the lesser elements is my preference, but it doesn't mean that it's going to change the quality. It just means that it's going to have less processing that's done as the light travels through the lens. Now, looking at the lens itself, you will also find that it is very well designed, very friendly to use, because it has a thumb lever so you can dial in, and it's got a very short focus throw. What that means is that you can use your finger to actually dial in the focus relatively easy. Now, for that reason, it is also a big disadvantage for anyone who wants to use this for videography. So if you want to do videos, finding the focus might be a little difficult, and it's not something that you can use, put a follow focus on. You cannot do a lot of things that you will normally do with other lenses. But beyond that, it is a wonderful lens to use for all kinds of applications. One of the applications that I strongly recommend is to use it for landscape photography, because when you dial the aperture down to, let's say, f4, f5.6, you're going to get almost no distortion, wonderful corner sharpness, which is very, very important. And also you're going to get great results. What that means is you're not going to get softness in the corners, you're going to get very sharp center, and whatever you place in the center is going to shine, and it's going to make the image look popped out. What that means is that there's going to be separation between the subject and the background, and that's something I truly like, and something that I would recommend that you experiment with the lens to get the greatest results. Now, also for street photography, this is a great lens to go to. Some people prefer the 28, some prefer the 21, but what I find when you go to those focal lengths is that there is a bit of like awkwardness, something that is not right in place, because it's not something that our eyes are accustomed to seeing. Now, our eyes are more in the 40 to 50 range, so 35 is not that much off from what our eyes are accustomed to seeing. And also it gives you a lot of leverage when you are trying to pull in focus fast, because even if you are at f2, you know, you are able to dial in a pretty much in focus area from anywhere 2 meters and onwards, and it gives you that buffer. When the focal length goes to, let's say, 50, you're not going to have that much of an advantage. So it's one of the things that I like. Also, when you look at this lens, you're going to get a very, very round bokeh. Now, if you compare this to lenses that have 5, 6, or 7, which is the number of blades that are found in like cameras like Canon or Nikon, you're going to find that stop sign kind of look, or you're going to find that rectangular look. You're going to get a very, very round bokeh. Now, if you compare this to lenses that have 5, 6, or 7, which is the number of blades that are found in like cameras like Canon or Nikon, you're going to find that stop sign kind of look, or you're going to find that rectangular look, which is not something that we prefer. It's not a geometric look that our eyes are used to seeing, because we like to see things in oval or rounder shapes in terms of out of focus areas, especially when you have light sources in the background. So in that respect, I think it is one of the best lenses that was ever made. Now, at the end of this article that I've written, there are a lot of photographs. I would like you to take the time to examine how the composition can be framed. Now, also, it's important when you're using this lens that the framing characteristics of a Leica M10 or M240 is designed for a 28 millimeter. So it's going to have a different look when you have actually taken the photograph. So if you are very, very keen on getting the absolute focus right, then what I would suggest is that you use an electronic viewfinder. Electronic viewfinders on an M10 or M240 will show you what you are actually going to capture in terms of framing and also exposure-wise when you're using it. So it's a very good lens to have. Now, there are a lot of lenses in the market. There is the black version, there is the limited edition versions, and also the silver ones. It doesn't quite make a difference if you're going to choose the black or the silver. They basically have the same thing. The retail value is over $3,000. It goes up every year, so it's now $3,295. You will find lenses that are going to cost 1/3 the price, going to be as sharp, have even more aperture blades and everything else. But what is going to happen is this: it's not going to be a Leica. And Leica, for what it is being designed for, is designed for a Leica camera. So that you will not have the thumb lever, which is one of the nice things about having this lens. Also, you will not have the combination of the optics that are being designed for the Leica cameras. Now, beyond that, if you compare this to, let's say, a Zeiss is going to have incredible resolution, incredible contrast, incredible sharpness, and it's going to cost 1/3 the price. Plus, if the fact that you can dial it to f/22 instead of f/16 in Leica, so that means that if you are in a very bright situation on a bright day, then you can just dial it down. But I prefer to shoot this lens at f/8 or f/11 at most for landscape and architecture, and then dial it down to f/2, which is the reason why you want to purchase a lens like this. Because if you look at the market, you know, there are lenses that are going to perform at f/4.5, at f/3.8, or f/2.8, and these are lenses that are going to perform very well because everything is going to be pretty much distortion free and going to be very sharp because of the fact that you have dialed the aperture to those numbers. But for me, what is nice is that if you dial down to f/2.8, f/4, you're almost not going to have vignetting. You're going to get incredible sharpness, and this is a lens that I love to use in these kind of situations. And the fact that I can take this lens with me on my camera body and travel the world and take incredible photographs, not have to worry about being weighed down by heavier lenses. This is one of the reasons my Summilux lens is usually not in my bag, for many, many reasons. The fact that you could lose it, you could drop it, you could get it stolen, and all these things could happen. But it's Summicron, you don't have to worry about it. It's very easily serviceable. And the fact that if you do regular cleaning, which I have made a video on, which you can find in the tutorial section on our Leica Review website, you can actually take very good care of this lens, and you will find that if you take good care of it, it will give you a service of 10 to 15 years before you have to actually take it in for oiling and cleaning. And this is one of the reasons why this lens costs so much, is because it's well made and it's made to a tight specifications, so that you know that your focus dial, for example, is not going to go loose on you, or it's not going to change the dampening over a period of time. So that is one of the reasons why I like this lens. Now, I have also mentioned in my Simulux that 35 millimeter is a lens, focal length that folds everything in between, very forgiving. So personally, if I want to create a bouquet or if I want to create something very, very artistic, this is not the lens to do that with. So if for that I will go to, let's say, 75 millimeter, or I go to 90 millimeter to get that bouquet, or I will try a Noctilux to get a very special look. But overall, if you are very confident in your subject matter, if, for example, you're in India and you're photographing the colorful people on the street, or if you are going to ashram and photographing the yogis and all these kind of things, it's going to be a lens that's going to perform spectacularly well, and it's going to be light enough to carry. So it's more important what you are selecting as subject matter that's going to define what this lens is going to do for you. Now, one other thing that I would like to mention before we go on to look at the photographs is this lens in itself is going to dial in half increments. So if, for example, you find that your sweet spot is between f2 and f2.4, you can dial these things very well. So you can dial it to f2.4, you go to f2.8. So these are things that gives you a little bit of flexibility when you are actually making sure that your exposure is right. And if you get your exposure right, everything is going to look incredibly well as far as when you take your photographs. I will say to you this: if you are looking for this lens, there are many sellers on the market for certain reasons. For example, if you are going to purchase this online, it's best to use an online authorized dealer, which will give you a great price because of low stocking fees. If you are going to buy this lens on eBay, make sure that the seller is a reputable one. And it's also important to know that if you are going to buy an older lens, that it is being properly serviced. If it's not being properly serviced, it's going to cost you time and money to get it running properly. So it's very important to select those things right. And it is for that reason I put links at the bottom of the article and also on this review for you to be able to visit those links and find out the best prices. And I hope this has been an informative review. I hope you have enjoyed it. And please do read our reviews on our website. Also, very important, I would like this website to be independent. I do not wish it to be something that people pay or the companies pay for you to do the reviews and then they get favorable reviews. This is a site that is specifically designed to give you the most honest, the most accurate, the most independent reviews. So for that, I provided a donation at the link at the bottom of each article. If you press that link and you make a small donation, it will help the website to run more smoothly, and it will help us to cover some of the costs. So I thank you for now. I look forward to seeing you in our next review. Thank you for watching.